As Hashem, today's daf is Masechta Baba Basra Daf Ayin Beis. We're beginning from the first line of Daf Ayin Beis Amud Aleph, and we are discussing over here that there was machlokes in the Mishnah between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan. That when somebody sells something, does he sell it with a good eye? And that everything is included in the sale. When you're in doubt, included into the sale. And Rabbanan hold Ayin Ra'ah Hu Moicher. Basically, that the Chachamim hold that when a person sells, when you're in doubt, you could assume that's not part of the sale. So, for example, in Rav Huna's case, Rav Huna's was Rav Huna said that if a person sells two trees, okay, if he sells two trees, so Rav Huna said that the dirt underneath the trees, I'm sorry, if he sells a field and he left over two trees that he did not sell, okay? So he left over two trees that he did not sell. He sold the field, but not two trees. The earth underneath those two trees are not included in the sale. So therefore, the seller has a right that should those trees die, he can replant new trees in that place. And that was the opinion, we went and said, that was the opinion of Rav Huna, who said his opinion, aliba d'Rabbanan. When a person sells, he sells ba'ayin ra'ahu moicher. He sells with a bad eye. So then the Gemara asked the question about, but doesn't Rav Shimon hold that you're basically selling the earth underneath the land? Rav Shimon said that the earth underneath the land of trees are being sold by Hegdish. When you makdish something, make it holy. So normally, normally you would say that the earth underneath the lands that are not included into the sale are not holy. Rab Shimon says that's everything is holy, and even the trees, even the unique trees of the carob tree and a sycamore tree, they are included into the hegdish, into the hegdish, and therefore the trees by derivation are considered holy. Anyway, so the Gemara basically said Rab Shimon hold like Rabbi Akiva, that when a person makes a hegdish, he's doing it by Ayin Yafa, so he's donating the land underneath the trees to hegdish. But Rav Huna went with the opinion of Rabbanan. When a person makes something hegdish, the Rabbanan, he would say, you do it by Ayin Ra'ah. You do it with a bad eye. You didn't donate what's under the trees. If you left the trees for yourself, the earth underneath the trees are also not included into the sale. Okay, but what you should know is that the Gemara said before that Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Akiva, that ba'ayin toiva, okay, ba'ayin toiva. Says the Gemara, umi matzis oikmis. Can you say that Rabbi Shimon went with the opinion of Mikbekus Michael Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Akiva? Can you say Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Akiva? Tanya, we learned in a brisa. This is going to prove that Reb Shimon. We're going to bring a brisa, and this brisa we're going to deduce logically that the author of the brisa is Rabbi Shimon, and the brisa is going to prove that Rabbi Shimon holds ba'ayin ra'ah hu magdish. Tanya, we learned in a brisa higdish shaloisha ilonis mimata asar lebeisa. If you magdish 3 trees in a 50 by 100 amas, so 50 by 50 amas, 3 trees. Imagine this location over here on the picture, which normally could hold 10 trees. There's this one held 3 trees. So therefore, basically, we ignore the trees, and we assume that if you want to redeem something from Hegdish, so then Hare Higdish is a karka, Vesi Lonish Bishben Benayim, Lefichach. When you want to redeem it, redeem the field from Hegdish, you want to get it back. So then you don't have to pay the value of the field of the trees to Hegdish. The Torah tells you that if you redeem a field, the Torah tells you how much it should cost you to redeem a field, and all you have to pay is 50 shekel kesef, 50 shekels. So even if the trees are worth much more, but the land size has these 3 trees on it, so you ignore the trees and you just pay for redeem the land, and the trees go along with it. Pachas mekan, but if this field is a smaller size, or yesa kan, or let's say it's bigger size than that, and so the trees are spread out further away from each other than 50 by 50 amas. Or shehegdishim b'zeh chazeh, or if you makdish it one after another. So then, so let's say you makdish one tree, and then you made hegdish another tree, and then another tree. That means that they're not holy. In other words, that they're not one entity. The karka, the land with the trees. So if you want to redeem the land is redeemed separately, but you also have to redeem the trees. It's not looked at as one entity, which you'll just redeem the land and ignore the trees. Therefore, if you want to redeem the trees, right? If you want to redeem the trees, so therefore, you have to redeem the trees as they're a separate entity. You probably pay 50 shekel, whatever it was, the Torah says, 50 shekel for the piece for the land, or depending on what the Torah dictates, what you should redeem the land for. However, for the trees, you have to pay separately. And not only that, and here is this, here's the key point over here. Let's say you redeem the trees, you magdish the trees, the chazu higdish is karka, and then you made hegdish the land. So let's say you had the three trees in that space of 50 by 50. However, you first would magdish the trees and then made hegdish the land. Oh, so when you will magdish the trees, the land was not connected to the trees, right? So when you redeem it, then you first redeem it. If you want to redeem the trees, you could redeem the trees. You have to pay for the trees separately, and then redeem the land. So basically, what we are showing that the only time you get a break on the redemption price is if you magdish a land with the trees at the same time that they take up a spot of 50 by 50 amas. Then you could just pay for the land, redeem the land, and the trees go with it. But in a couple of scenarios, any other scenario like that, if the trees are spread out more, or there are more trees there, or you first will magdish the trees and then you made hegdish the land, so then you made it as two separate entities, and therefore when you come to redemption time, you have to pay for the land and also pay for the trees, for the value of the trees, so you don't get no break. So now we're going to try to figure out who the author of this money. Rabbi Kiva, if you're going to say Rabbi Kiva, Ha'amar, who says moicha ba'ayin yafa hu moicha, when you sell even one tree, Rabbi Kiva says when you sell everything, you're selling everything, all the land associated with it. For kolshkein magdish, and certainly when you make it hegdish. So therefore, when you're magdish just a tree, you're magdish the land underneath the tree. You're giving it away. So you're gifting it to hegdish. You're not going to just gift the tree. You're going to gift the land underneath the hegdish. So the author of this brayso is not Rabbi Akiva. Rabbana, if it goes according to Rabbanan, Ha'amri, they say, when someone sells, they agree that he sells with an ayin ra. But in our Mishnah, we learned something different. Rabbanan pivoted and said, magdish, but when you're making something hegdish, ba'ayin yafahu magdish. When you're making something hegdish, everything is included into the hegdish. So even as you remember the Mishnah, when the Mishnah said that the Rabbanan hold that when someone makes something hegdish, even the bar of vidus and everything is included into the package. So again, if you made the trees hegdish, you certainly made the land under these trees hegdish. So the author of this brayso cannot be according to Rabbanan. Ela pshita Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon, and this is the new shita of Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon holds that a person is ba'ayin ra, right? Rab Shimon will align himself according to Rabbanan, and then everything will make sense. Rab Shimon ali b'dman. Who would Rab Shimon hold like? Ali b'Rab Kiva. If Rab Shimon aligned himself with Rabbi Akiva, alma moicha ba'ayin yafa moicha. Whoever sells, he sells with a good eye. So the kolshke magdish. So then then certainly if someone makes something hegdish, it's ba'ayin yafa. So again, when you magdish the trees, you magdish the land underneath the trees. So therefore, the author of the brisa cannot be Reb Shimon if he was aligning himself with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Ela pshita alibi Rabbanan. He really holds like Rabbanan, but he's one step further than the Rabbanan, because Savar Reb Shimon, that Reb Shimon holds, Rabbanan make a differentiation. If you sell ba'ayin, if it's ba'ayin ra, if you make it hegdish, it's ba'ayin yafa. But Reb Shimon will say all the way like the Rabbanan. Ki heicha demoicha ba'ayin ra, just like when you sell, it's ba'ayin ra. Magdish nami ba'ayin ra magdish. And you left over the land. When you donated the trees, you left the land. The land is not included in the sale. So therefore, it must make sense. In order to make sense of this brisa, the brisa would be Reb Shimon according to the opinion of Rabbanan. And you just got through saying, but to make Reb Huna make sense, you said Reb Shimon goes according to Rabbi Akiva. And I just proved you in the brisa that Reb Shimon has to hold like the Rabbanan. So now we go to Amid Beis. Ve'alakasha. Then the Gemara says there's a bigger question out there. In this brisa, it seems to say if it goes according to Reb Shimon, when you donate trees, you're not to Hegdish, you're not giving the land. But in our Mishnah says that, and you have to understand the Mishnah, but our Mishnah seems to imply, and basically that's what Reb Shimon is saying, that when you donate the land to Hegdish, you donate all the land, even the land underneath the trees. So even though when you sell land, a sycamore tree is not included into the sale, but when you make something hegdish, Reb Shimon holds that the land underneath the sycamore tree is hegdish, and therefore, the sycamore tree would be hegdish. That's what Reb Shimon said in the Mishnah. So we see that Reb Shimon holds that when a person's magdish a land, he's magdish the tree, the land underneath the tree. So Velakasha Hoyel V'Yonkim Stay Hegdish. That's what he said. Our Mishnah seems to say that the reason why the sycamore trees are holy is because they are nourishing themselves from the field of Hegdish. So how do you align our Mishnah with this brisa if this brisa is indeed authored by Reb Shimon? Our Mishnah seems to say Reb Shimon goes according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. When you donate something ba'ayin yafa. So the Gemara says, and you're right, to make sense of everything, Reb Shimon the Rabbanan Kamalo. Reb Shimon goes according to the opinion of was speaking on behalf of the Rabbanan, the rabbis. Rabbi said that a Moshe is ba'ayin ra and a Magdish is ba'ayin yafa. So he said like this: no, when somebody sells, it's ba'ayin ra. So make something holy is also ba'ayin ra. V'shiyur mishar. Any leftover the land underneath that he did not make hegdish, and therefore Rav Huna, who says when someone keeps trees for himself in a sale, he's also keeping the land underneath the tree for himself. Could even align himself with Reb Shimon, because Reb Shimon could speak on behalf of the Rabbanan. Reb Shimon could align himself with the Rabbanan, but he said. He was talking alibi the Rabbanan. But according to me, according to you, that when Hegdish is ba'ayin yafa, okay, I grant you that, but not everything should be included in the Hegdish, the bar, vidus, and everything like that. Only the land underneath the trees, but not the water pools. So that's what Reb Shimon was telling the Rabbanan in the Mishnah. You should limit your person's donation to Hegdish to only include the land underneath unique trees, but not something not related to the land, like the wine press, the bar of vidus. But Rabbanan said, Loishna. Rabbanan say, nope, doesn't make a difference. When a person's magdish a field, everything's included. Every last shed and every water pool, every wine press is included in the sale. So now the Gemara just has one last question regarding this matter. B'maya kimtala. So you said that this brisa goes according to who? Rabbi Shimon, right? Rabbi Shimon, and he aligns himself. Rabbi Shimon really in his heart holds like the Rabbanan. Ba'ayin ra, hu moicher, and ba'ayin ra, hu magdish. So Ema Sefer, let's see the Sefer, the Brisa. The Brisa says, Loi oidal, feel higdish is lon, v'chaza higdish is karka, kshu paida paises os, b'shavei, mechaza paida beis chayim, so that we learned in the end of the Brisa that if you magdish the trees, and then you magdish the karka, so then when you're redeeming the trees, you have to pay for the trees separately, what they're worth, and then you redeem the rest of the land. The Rab Shimon lays a boss opinion. But Rab Shimon, since at the end of the day, when he's coming to redeem, both the land and the trees are considered in the hands of Hegdish. And we find elsewhere that Rab Shimon goes along with saying that we always follow, we define a land at the time of Pidyon, when you're redeeming it. And since at the time that you're redeeming it, it's one entity, so you should have to pay for the land and the tree should go with it. Now, where do you see Rabbi Shimon is defining a land according to the time that you pay, that you're redeeming it? That we see that in another area where the Torah tells you that if you have a land that's an estate land that's in your family for years and you donate it to the Hagdish, so then the Torah says if you want to redeem it, you pay a certain amount, Chamishim shekel, whatever it is, Chamishim shekel if you want to redeem it right after Yovel. But if it's a field that you purchase from somebody else, a stranger, it's not a piece of land that came to you from the time that the Jews took over Israel. You bought a piece of land, you donate it to Hagdish. When you redeem it to Hagdish, you have to pay full value. So now the question is, if a person bought a land from his father, so he was going to inherit it anyway, and then was makdish it, and then his father died, so he de facto inherited, but it was in the hands of Hegdish already. So is it a stei achuza, right, an inherited land, and you pay the set price to redeem it, or is it a stei mikna? So Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon are going to hold, since at the time that you're redeeming it, it was a stei achuza, inherited land, so therefore you pay the set amount, the fixed price, and you don't have to pay the full value. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, so let's read it. Person purchases a field from his father, and then made it Hegdish. So now, it would have been a stei achuza. Then your father died, so now it's considered to be a stei achuza. How do you know that it has a din of stei achuza and you pay the fixed amount if you want to redeem it? Talmud Loimer, the pasuk says, that since this field was a type of field that you were eventually going to inherit it anyway, so we look at the time of the redemption, and at the time of the redemption, we'll call it a stei achuza, and you'll pay the fixed price that the Torah says to redeem a stei achuza. Rab Meir says no. First, you have to inherit the field and then be makdish it. Then it's only then it's a stei achuza. So this, according to Rabbi Meir reads the pasuk literally. If it's a stei achuza before you donated it, then it has a din of a stei achuza. But if it was a stei mikna and then you donated and then it became a stei achuza, it is not considered a stei achuza. Rab Shimon said they don't learn the pasuk like a mayor. If your father died and then you made it hagdish, well, when your father died, it was already a stei achuza. Like I don't need a pasuk to tell you that's a stei achuza. The pasuk is needed. Hecha the higdisha va'achachach meis ava. First you were magdish it, then your father died. Oh, manol. So then your father died. So manolahu. How do you know that? It must be that Reb Yehuda and Shimon had this novel idea that we don't look at a field when you donated it. True, when you donated it, it was a stei mikna because you bought it off your father. But when you're coming to redeem it, it was already a stei achuza. That's why you go after Basa Pidyon. So if that's the opinion of Rab Shimon, that you always look at it at what it is, what defines a field is at the time of when you're coming to redeem it. So why would Rab Shimon say in the Brayso that when you donate trees first and then the land, it's considered two separate entities? They should be considered one entity, because when you're coming to redeem it, they're one entity. They're 3 trees on a 50 by 50 field. So that Brayso wouldn't align. It doesn't make sense with the opinion of Rab Shimon. So the answer is Rabbi Yehuda and Shimon, they don't look at the time of redemption. That doesn't define the field. The case of stei mikna with the father and you're donating it before your father died, here is akra ashkru drash. They had a drasha of the pasuk. And came lichtav kravim stay miknasai shalom achuzasai inami stay achuzasai my shalom stay achuzasai. It says an extra mem in the pasuk. Ashen really stay achuza yatsuzu really stay achuza. They have an extra mem in this pasuk that gave a special drasha that if something a field had the potential to be a stay achuza, we already treat it as a stay achuza. But since this is a xeris akasav only in this unique situation, so therefore Rabbi Shimon would treat it as a stay achuza. But normally they do not go. What doesn't define the field, what doesn't define the situation is the redemption. It's the donation that defines it. And since in the Brisa you donated the trees first and then the field, they're considered as two separate entities. The Gemara concludes. Amar Rav Huna says, Charev hamurkev asadan shikma, a mature carob tree and a mature sycamore tree. Taris ilan olav, taris karka olav. It has a din of a tree and has a din of land. Now, a big tree, a unique tree, has a din of karka and a din of tree. Taris ilan olav, it has a din of a tree. The heched the agdish oizav and shnei and lonis v'hai. If you magdish two trees, and this is mango tree, the sycamore tree. So now you have three trees. So then, yesh like karka. That means the whole field now belongs to you in between the trees, because we're going to learn later on when you buy or magdash three trees, you're including the land that are in between the trees. So you have to have at least three trees. So a sycamore tree is a tree. So you have two apple trees and a sycamore tree. That will already make it that the land goes along with the hegdish or the purchase. But Taurus Karka Olav, it has a din of a separate land, the Lemis Dagman Aga Karka, which we learned in our Mishnah, that when you're selling a piece of land, right, you sell a field, if there's a unique sycamore tree, it's not included in the sale because it has a din. That sycamore tree is like a unique tree and it has like its own zip code. It's not included in the field. And because of that, it has a din of a separate piece of land and not included. So the sycamore trees, the mature, sometimes can be viewed as a tree. Sometimes it's viewed as a piece of land. If you have a big bundle, or imagine a big bundle wrapped up, it has a din of like a small bundle, and has a din like a big pile. What does that mean? It has a din like a small bundle. We know the shnei yamam shechra. If you forget two small bundles in your field, then you have to leave it for the poor. Shnayim behu, but let's say you have two bundles, and this umango bundle, so you have two small bundles, and this umango bundle that holds two saw, ain't a shicha. Already that's not a shicha, because already you have three bundles, so it has a din of a regular bundle. Tarish Gadish alav, but it has a din of a pile, as not even a bundle. We call it as a huge pile. If you forget one big bundle by itself, and in the field, and it's this humongous one which holds two saw, if just you forget that one alone, it's not, you don't have to give it to the poor. So this like big one, it has a dual citizenship. It has a din of an oimer, like a small bundle, and has a din of like a big pile that there's no din shich on it. Amar Rabba Bar Chana Rish, we're going back to the Gemara. That Chorav Hamurka V'Sadan Hashikma, if is a carob tree, a mature sycamore tree, included when somebody donates a field to Hegdish. So Bonim Machlekes Rab Nachman B'Rabbanim. Rab Nachman says like it is, right? Because it's included. It's included into the Hegdish, and Rabbanan say no, it's not included into the Hegdish. Or we could say by Hegdish. So it's Machlekes between Rab Nachman and Rabbanan, right? Rabbanan say Ein Yafa not only is everything included in the Hegdish, but not only is the bar, dus, and everything like that included in the Hegdish, because Rabbanan hold Ein Yafa, right? And that's we saw in our Mishnah. But Rabbi Nachman holds not only is nothing is included in the Hegdish, and even more limited than Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon said the southern and the sycamore tree are included in the Hegdish, and Rab Yossi says nothing's included in the Hegdish, just the land. That's it. So he's more limiting than the Rabbanan. So the Gemara says, why don't we say that this is the machlokes, that the sycamore trees is a machlokes between Rab Menachem and the Rabbanan, or Rab Shimon and Rabbanan, that because Rab Shimon also was, according to the Rabbanan saying, he was saying that the sycamore should not be included. Al Kamashmalan comes to teach you that Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon Tzvi, it teaches you a din that Rabbi Nachman Rabbi Yossi is lining himself up with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Hadron Allah Chamoiches Abayes. Good Shabbos.